Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Wing Commander Susan Liddy. We warmly welcome members of the Defence Housing Australia contingent who are joining us this evening. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private John Turner. John Turner was born in 1892 to William and Elizabeth Turner of Shiremore near Newcastle upon Tyne in England. He came to Australia in 1913 at the age of 21, settling in Kalgoorlie, Western Australia, near his uncle and cousins, and worked in the South Kalgoorlie gold mine. The year after Turner came to Australia, war broke out in Europe, and John Turner was among the first to enlist in the newly created Australia Imperial Force. He was posted to the 11th Battalion, and after a few weeks preliminary training in Australia, he left for overseas service with the 1st Contingent. The 11th Battalion formed part of the covering force for the dawn landing at Anzac Cove on the 25th of April 1915. The war diary notes that the men landed under heavy musketry and machine gun fire and stormed the cliffs, pushed back the Turks and occupied the position along the forward ridge. Private Turner remained with his battalion on the peninsula until September, when he became ill with diarrhoea and enteritis. This became an ongoing problem and eventually resulted in his being evacuated and sent to hospital. By the end of 1915, Turner was in hospital in Birmingham and would remain in England for several months. By mid-1916, Turner was repeatedly missing parade and overstaying leave. He was finally sent to join his battalion on the Western Front in August 1916, just missing the desperate battle for the French village of Pozières. Once in the field, his discipline problems disappeared, and within 2 months, he was attached to the 1st Australian Divisional Headquarters. It is not clear what role he was filling in the 1st Division staff, but he remained there for more than 18 months, finally returning to the 11th Battalion in June 1918. In July 1918, the 11th Battalion was in the front line near the French village of Maris. On the 28th of July, the neighbouring 10th Battalion conducted a small operation to capture the village, and the 11th Battalion provided important flank support to the assault. On the 30th of July, the 11th was relieved, moving back to a new position in the support line. As they were moving back, a stray shell landed among the men of D Company, killing 2 and wounding 8. Private Turner was almost certainly one of those 8 men. The following day, he is recorded as being at a casualty clearing station, suffering from wounds so bad that he died later that day. He was 26 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many of the stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private John Turner, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.